Hello and welcome. This is Body Garage on TV 47, and of course, happy holidays to you and your family. And as we all know, this holiday season is normally described as the most wonderful time of the season, but it can come along with a lot of stresses and anxiety. So how do you manage that? On this episode, we focus on the soul and mind health during this festive season. And with me is Winfrey Achieng of the Chiromo Hospital. How are you?
I'm doing well today, and how are you?
I am doing well. Could you introduce yourself to my viewer?
Right, so my name is Winfrey Achieng, a hospital psychologist and the acting psychology services manager. And it's an honor today. When we discuss things to do with soul and mind connection, it's one thing I'm very passionate about. Yes.
Okay, so let's begin with, we're talking about the soul and mind connection. And of course, it has a part in the holistic well-being of a person. So what are some of the aspects that, fall into that?
Right, so basically this comes in with the physical aspect, the emotional, and the spiritual. When it comes to the physical dimension itself, I'm sure this is one thing that most people are very knowledgeable about, and they've even normalized it, but it's just a part of the picture. Because you also have the emotional well-being. How are we managing our emotions? Most of the time we tend to find ourselves suppressing. Yeah, so it's very important to be aware, how can we also express how we feel, And then the other aspect, the spiritual dimension, which is very important. Well, which gives now the meaning to life, the purpose to life, as an individual. And point to note, it's not only structured towards religion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's also in terms of personal philosophies, what guides your action and your values. Yeah, and one thing is also very, very critical, even to our viewers today. They're very, very connected. They're not in isolation.
Yes.
When you have a physical ailment, definitely it will affect how you will be in terms of your emotional distress. And if you have a foundation, when it comes to your spiritual life, the other areas are also catered for, and you'll have a very peaceful mind, soul and mind, to a point probably wondering, oh my goodness, how is this person doing this festive season, Yes.
So, and during now this festive season, what are some of the emotions that come with the festive season, and how can one manage those emotions?
Right. Yeah. I know most of the time when we talk about even emotions themselves, even when it comes to therapists, we only equate it to negative emotions. But this festive season can even fall along the positive emotions, right? But point to note, let's not be impulsive, please. Yeah, because now even when you're paid, you want to use every money because you're so happy. So at bottom line, even if it's positive emotions, you also have to know how to manage. And when it comes to negative emotion, festive season is a family time. Yeah, that sense of belonging, that sense of community. So the moment someone finds themselves that they're feeling alone, they're wondering, oh my goodness, this Christmas, what am I going to do?
So it is actually possible to feel alone even when everyone is there.
Imagine. It's very, very possible. And that now takes us back now to the mind itself. Yeah, because it can be in the midst of everyone, but you just feel very alone at that moment. Yeah.
So now we've talked about some of the negative emotions that come with the festive season. Possibly could you highlight on these negative emotions and then tell us how do they come about and how can one deal with this stress that comes with it?
Yeah, so there's the aspect of sadness. That is also very negative emotion. There is anxiety as well. And there's that point where you just feel no hope at all. Yeah. And the best way to deal with this is, first of all, being able to recognize, and understand, why am I feeling this way? And also acknowledge, because most of the time when you feel these emotions and we air it out to someone else, sometimes they don't acknowledge. They're like, hey, what do you mean? Festive season? How could you be sad?
Yes.
You are a weird person.
Happy.
The world is happy. So, so it's also important to acknowledge and also expressing it. How are you expressing your negative emotions? It should be very healthy. It can be through journaling, mindfulness, where you also focus on the here and now. Because remember, sometimes the negative emotions even come from the previous year.
Yes.
So you look back and you're like, oh my God, last year, December, such a day like this, or these holidays, they've never been the best for me. So you find that that really trickles down to your emotional state, and most importantly, regulating them.
Yeah, you've spoken now about regulating them. So how do I regulate now my emotions? Because sometimes I sit, maybe I'm the jolly one and someone else is very, you know, stressed up. So how do we regulate these emotions?
Right, and I really love what even you've mentioned, because sometimes also reading the room, you can find, like, let's say you're friends and you're so energetic, you're so lively, and on my end I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, so first of all, still comes back with the acceptance of your emotions, and the other aspect is being emotionally intelligent. Yeah, and that comes in with being aware of the other person's emotions and yours as well. And then there's the aspect of having facts. You know, sometimes we tend to jump to assumptions. Yeah, so you find that something has happened, but how you express your emotions, and even you ate out to someone else, they'll be like, oh my God, really? Yeah, so it's very important to be also cautious around when something happens to you, let it be factual. Yeah, and the other aspect is also doing the opposite action. By this is, let's say if you're angry or you're sad, you know, most of the time you can find yourself either lashing out or there's increase in volume of how you're speaking. So that is the point where you need to calm down, reassess the situation. If you're able to speak to someone, if maybe they're the ones who wronged, even if it was last year or so to say, please do. Yeah, so that is where emotional regulation comes in. Yeah.
Okay, and say now someone, I'm supposed to talk to someone, how should I do it in the first place? And then how do I help somebody who's, you know, having this roller coaster of emotion?
Right. Yeah. And when it comes to talking to someone, this one again has to be, you really have to be also very intentional around it. Because there are those you open up to, and the next minute, oh my God, your whole holiday is ruined. You wonder, am I now a movie, you know? They went and said, you know, talked of more stories that you didn't even discuss, so to say.
Yeah.
And even when it comes still back to the matter of how do I talk to someone? First of all is the empathy that comes in. Yeah. If you're feeling that you have a person who is having so much distress, be keen. Have empathy, show compassion, not a point where you're very dismissive. You're like, "Ay, please, let's talk about that maybe in February."
In January.
Oh yeah, February. Like, please, let's enjoy this. Let's not dismiss each other, you know? Yeah, and even when it comes to seeking help, sometimes we are emotionally overwhelmed. Yeah, there's persistent sadness. You can't sleep, you can't function. Because when it comes to the mental health space, we usually look at 4 things. How are you able to cope with normal life stressors? Because with all honesty, there's no point where they want to be stressors. Even when you are born, literally, even when a child wants to breastfeed, they'll cry. That's still stressor, you know? But it's a point of, are you able to cope, right? And are you able to be productive in the community? Yeah, so looking at the functionality as well. And even your sleep. If either there's insomnia, you're sleeping for less hours, and most of the time I get this question. And even if I sleep for 10 hours, is that a concern? Yes, it is. Yes.
Oh, it is a concern?
Yes, that's called hypersomnia. And that is usually what sometimes leads to a lot of suicidal thoughts. Because I'm like, hey, they have slept. It's so peaceful. What if I sleep some more? Yeah, so you find also yourself sleeping for, you know, very long hours. Just it's something you need to be very cautious about.
So even if it's the holiday season, be cautious about how long you're sleeping.
Thanks for asking that. For the holiday season, it's allowed because there's a point of recharging, very much allowed. But if it comes from a point of, I don't want to interact with the world, you know, you're kind of avoiding it, that is where it becomes a problem. Yeah.
And now this season, everyone is interacting with everyone and anyone in the community. And sometimes you find now you're thrust into, you know, community gatherings. And so how do I cultivate, you know, relationships that will be positive for myself?
Right. And with all honesty, we are not an island.
Yes.
Yeah, so relationship is very critical. For us as human, it builds our foundation. Yeah. And one thing, even as I'd mentioned earlier on, in terms of empathy and understanding, because most of the time people are like, oh, you know, my friend was the worst. Even this is the time when they're talking of cutting off, right? But ask yourself, what role have you played in this friendship? Because sometimes it's usually one-sided. So we really have to also be intentional with the time we give to our friends as well. Ask ourselves, are we reciprocating? Because they just take us. And then the moment someone retracts, they're like, I'm cutting you off.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, most importantly, communicating. If you've had issues with someone, please, let's not dive into the ear and so on. And it's when you start being very agitated around someone, let's communicate openly and freely.
And freely.
Yes.
And you know, this is the season where we are saying we are cutting off. Some of us will be
you.
cut off. And now I'm wondering how, for those meaningful relationships, how do I make them meaningful? How do I make them impactful so that someone does not feel the urge to say, this year I want to cut off Sheila?
Right, and that is where now the intentionality comes in, as I was mentioning before, in terms of reciprocation and also allocating time for them and being positive. I mean, and this also involves around encouraging our friends. You know, sometimes someone does very well and you're like, you're just silent there. So, you know, it's also about that sense of belonging. If you want even to foster even more healthier relationship, let's be positive. Let's help each other. Let's support, because one thing that even creates a healthy environment in friendship is that support. Honestly, if I don't feel supported, and being where we are at today, it won't be easy.
Yes.
Because it's a very challenging time. As you mentioned before, there's so much stress, there's so much worry, and imagine having like 10 friends of the sort who are still adding on to that. Definitely I want to have someone who's encouraging me, whom we can walk this journey together and uplift one another. That's the most important. Yeah.
That is now for friends. Now we come to family. How now do I maintain a meaningful relationship? You know, family, it's always ups and downs throughout the year.
I agree.
And now we are at this time where we are forced to be in the same rooms. First, how do we go about that? And then how do I make sure that, you know, we get now closer as a family?
And this now takes us back to the history you have with your family. Because there's some who are very triggered with their family in regards to the trauma they have had. And the moment they say, even I've had people coming and they're like, Winfrey, I can't imagine I'm going home. I feel I'm so triggered. Can I even be admitted today? And I'm like, no, you have to face this. So it's also the history, because there are those who just have very healthy relationships. So even if they go, it's just like continuing from where they left, because they've been communicating. But now if you're struggling or a family is a trigger to you, it's important to be aware. Just understand, self-reflect, what exactly is going on? Is it that I don't have a good communication with my mom or dad or my siblings? Reevaluate that and just take it one step at a time. Because you know, it's not magic like, okay, now I'm going to tell them a story and Winfrey will be good. No, it's just one step at a time. It's just knowing where you are at with your family, but most importantly, please, family is very important. And point to note, also we have friends who can be family. Yeah, because those who literally, if you look around it, they don't have the biological family. So they wonder, oh my God, what am I going to do this Christmas? And then they look at, you know, Sheila, and they're like, oh my God, oh, even they look at your statuses and all, and they're wondering. So please, even friends can be family. Yeah, so, and just having that sense of belonging is very important.
It's very important.
Yeah.
So then going into a new year, what should I do to ensure that my family feels close to me, even my friends feel close to me?
I find most people who are triggered, maybe you find that they've taken a long period of not even engaging with them. Yeah, so those are starters. Just let's try and make it as frequent as possible, because as I had mentioned, we are not an island. We can't belong alone. I know we talk about self-love, very important.
Very important.
Yes, but you also need people around that, but healthy, definitely.
Now you mentioned the issue of self-love. Now personally, how do I care for myself during this time?
During this time, all I can say, first of all, please calm down. There's usually a lot of excitement around this time. Oh my God. And that's why most people complain about January in most cases. Yeah, in terms of the because you know, there's also the financial self-care that comes with it. Yeah, there's also the physical self-care. This is the time when even you can have set some goals. Even if it's starting to walk, your nutrition, look around it, reflect from January to now, how have I been in terms of my physical self-care, right? Emotional self-care as well. How am I regulating my emotions? Especially now with the positive emotions, very important. Spiritual as well. The spiritual self-care is also very critical. How is your relationship with your higher power or your personal philosophy as well? Yeah, so basically when it comes to the self-care, it's just more of looking at you as a person and reflecting on also what you love. Because you know, sometimes you cannot impose of, please do this, do that. If you're open and willing to be more open-minded, try new things, please do. But most importantly, fill your cup. Because when you look at self-care, it's filling your cup.
All right, I would love you to hold on to that thought of filling your cup as we take our first commercial break. When we will be back, she will expound more on some of the self-care practices that you can take into consideration during this festive season and even as we head into the new year. Do not go too far, we'll be right back. Hello and welcome back. This is Body Garage, where your well-being matters. And just before the break, we were talking with Winfrey on the soul and mind health during the festive season. And before we took the break, you're talking about filling your own cup. So how is that possible? And then how can it be done by myself? Can I fill it by myself, or do I need others to fill my own cup?
Right, when it comes to the analogy of filling the cup.
And what does it even mean?
Yes, so basically what that means is, it's the self-care, yeah? It's the self-care aspect, where as much as we pour into other people's life, we also need to refill our cup. So that is more of what do we do to take care of yourselves? Because sometimes people do forget, yeah? So back exactly to what you're asking. Can I fill it by myself? Yes, you can. Okay. But now, we have the 8 dimension. So we have the 7. The 7 dimensions definitely you can feel by yourself. That is the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, environmental, and even financial. But when it comes to the social aspect, unfortunately, you can't feel it by yourself. You cannot feel it by yourself. Yes, because that one now needs relationship. But point to note, if there's the aspect of personality, pets are there. Pets are there. Okay. Yeah. And so how do I know that now mine is running low? My cup is running low. Thank you. Thank you. So this is usually associated now with our emotions, our thought process, and even our behavior. Because it comes to a point like every single day, you're very low. Someone is wondering, my goodness, I mean, we had the India party. Come on, why are you feeling this low, you know? And then there's the persistent sadness that is there. Yeah. And even in terms of your thoughts, you're very negative. Even if something, happened that was very positive, the thought process is just negativity. Negativity. And even how you view yourself, and now it affects even your self-esteem and the confidence. So the point where it runs low is when now the emotional state is affected, your thought process is affected, and even your behavior. Even someone who is very energetic, you just see they're very lethargic, very fatigued. Because now that is when you know your mental health space is affected. Do you know filling the cup is the most natural remedy when it comes to mental health care? Yes. Okay. How like when you have flu, you take your concussions, the dawar. So self-care is it. So if you don't do the self-care, now other measures are taken. But how then, will it be very natural to realize that I think I'm becoming too negative? Is it, will I realize it by myself, or is it that someone will tell me, Sheila, there's something wrong here? Right. Those are very hypersensitive when it comes to self-awareness. Anything that is amiss, they're like, oh my God, yesterday I know I wasn't the best. And again, there are those who sometimes they're not aware because it's so much on the subconscious mind. So people come to you and they're telling, hey, Sheila, energy kind of seems off. You're like, no, this is how I usually am. To a point they even show you a video. You took maybe 2 weeks ago. And then you're like, oh, all right. So there are those who literally be self-aware, and there are those it's more from the feedback they get. Yeah. Okay. And then there's us who fill people's cups every other time. At what point do I know I'm overfilling some people's cups and letting my own down? Right. It still falls back to the symptoms I talked about, honestly. Because you find that at some point, as much as you're helping someone, but you're feeling drained. You know, sometimes can be on the philanthropic aspect, where you're freely doing it, you're so happy about it, but at some point you just feel you're struggling. And it's very common even in our African culture, the black tax. Oh my God. Serving the community to the fullest. Yes. Yeah? Oh, everyone in the community calling you here and there, you're really helping them out. But it comes to a point where you feel so agitated. And even people are like, ay, but they used to be an amazing soul. What is happening nowadays? So that is when someone else can give them feedback. But again, there are those who are still self-aware. The moment you're seeing you're not functioning in the normal way you used to, you're not able to regulate your emotions, then no, actually those are usually the early warning signs. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And now we're talking about self-care, and I know rest does play a very important role. So how much rest is needed, and what is this role that rest actually plays in terms of self-care?
And do you know what? Especially sleep. Oh my goodness. Sleep is fundamental. That is how we recharge. I know during this festive season, everyone is on their phone, battery low, recharging. So our battery is how we recharge is by sleeping. So it's the fundamentals of, you know, the self-care, your mental well-being. And I mean, for adults, 7 to 8 hours. For some, 6 hours is adequate, as long as, remember, the bottom line is as long as it's not affecting your functionality.
Okay.
If you're still able to operate at optimum. Yeah, because again, there are those who sleep for 8 hours and they tell you, I'm so lethargic, oh my God, I cannot sleep for more than 6 hours. Honestly. Yeah, so it's also majorly about your functionality at that point.
Okay, and then there would be others that would say, for me to have self-care is traveling, having activities. What sort of activities would you recommend? And how much should they do, you know, for those activities?
Right.
Yeah.
So at least in a week, 150 minutes. Yeah. Because again, there are those, and especially this festive season, oh my God, people usually have a lot of expectations. The vision board is there.
Yes.
January, I'm going to start this, and please take it slow. Please take it slow. Yeah. So if it's January, the first 1 week, just take a walk. If you want to roll to the gym, please do. Because again, there are those who start like from a whole aspect, and then they get tired. They start talking of, you know, my joints are aching, I can't do this anymore.
Yes.
You know, when it comes to, now that is on the exercising part. The other aspect that people really talk about as much, dieting is still important.
Oh.
Yeah. Dieting even helps us in terms of emotional regulation, even the activity. There's a neurochemical known as dopamine that helps us to feel good. So from the exercising, from the nutrition, that also helps.
You feel good.
Yeah, there are those who love sports, there are those who love game boards, yeah, cycling, skating, name them, even if it's just movies. Yeah, because some are like, outdoor activities, please, they're still activities. And never let someone tell you like, that's boring. You know, some people are usually very interesting. Like, just at home, movies, board games,
boring.
That's boring. No. Let no one define an activity for you being boring. Not at all. Any activity, as long as you love it, as long as it's giving you that peace of mind, do it to the fullest and just know you're uniquely yourself. Yeah? Yes.
Okay. Now, there are those who would be like, I'm traveling. So you'd find during this time, self-care for them is going to Dubai, going to all these places. And then there's us who are not going anywhere.
Right.
So how do I balance these pressures of someone is going this way? And you know, it also affects our children when they go to school.
That is so true. And let me now shock you again. You know, the sample also very interesting. Maybe they took these videos of February 14th or 17th February 2024, and they're posting it in 27th December 2024. So basically what I'm just trying to say, in social media, there's a lot of things that we don't know behind the curtains. We don't know what someone did to even go for this trip. But we're acknowledging that, and we love that you love traveling. Please enjoy. But for us now that who are still here, what do we do? So that now comes in just knowing what is within your control.
Yes.
And that even comes with the financial aspect. Because find that now someone is training. Because I've seen someone else flying, oh my God, all the saving, even maybe the ones that they were to use next year, you know, they plan for this trip and they find themselves struggling. So especially right now, just be aware of what is within your control and what is not. If you can only go, you know, maybe to a restaurant close by to your neighborhood, please do. But most importantly, just ensure you enjoy. I think that's the most important in this season. If you're able to, please do. And like not putting so much pressures to a point you find that, oh my God, it's now January 5th.
Yes.
You've not done anything.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want us to, you know, expound on that aspect, the financial aspect, because it plays a very critical role. How would you tell someone, you know, first explain to us what can they do, and then bring us to speed with how can now financial, you know, that aspect play a part. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a financial expert. Yeah, I'm a mental health expert, but at least there's an integration of the financial wellness. And this now comes first, just knowing how your pocket is. It always starts there. And also there are parameters. For the financial expert, they'll always say there are some percentages that you allocate to yourself in terms of expenditure, in terms of savings. And for savings, expenditure is usually the least percentage.
It is.
But what do people do? It's the highest, yeah? So that's why you find now again, people are struggling. So it's just terms of expenditure and savings, how are they looking like? Yeah, and again, questions around, hey, Winfrey, it's the holiday.
Yes.
I mean, I really need to enjoy myself as well. It's okay. Yeah, if you're able to, but most importantly, it's just knowing where you are at financially. It still comes back to awareness. You cannot lie to yourself. Now you know what is in your bank account. I know too. Everyone knows, our viewers know, but how are you spending this amount of money?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, we are now in this emotion. If someone is now in this emotional distress, how would you advise them to seek for help? What professional help can they even seek for? And then how, accessible is it in the first place?
Right. So when it comes to help, the stigma that is surrounding it, it's usually one of the biggest barrier. But the moment, I really want us to get to a point, even this festive season, please, let's normalize, discussions around mental health.
Okay.
You know why? Because the moment I'm feeling overwhelmed, sometimes it might be very hard to talk to someone, or sometimes they won't understand you. And even when you interact with people, they'll be like, you know what, Winfrey, I spoke to a friend, and the story changed. In fact, now it turned from my story to theirs. You know? So there's usually those struggles as well. So when you come to a professional, at least they're able to listen to you, curatively form therapeutic techniques that will be subjected to you. Yeah? So the moment you're feeling either suppressing your emotions, overwhelmed, or there's that persistent sadness, just know we have professionals. And that involves now the therapist, who now involve the therapeutic technique, talk therapy. There's a psychiatrist. Because now if assessments are done, and let's say your levels of either depression, the stress levels now, or anxiety, that is now the levels of worry. If it's on the severe side, you need medication. Because that now affects, again, the biological aspect. So medication will be needed, and this now will involve the psychiatrist. And then there are also support groups. Because sometimes someone can just, maybe be affected by one thing, and maybe it's very mild. Just go to a support group, talk about it, and the next minute you'll be in a better space.
Okay. Yeah. And so we are talking about now talking about it, and so there are always these connections with friends, and I'm wondering, how would you tell someone who's struggling to form these connections to just find these connections?
All right.
Yeah.
Connections, maybe just to get you clear in terms of...
with friends, family. Maybe I am in terms of personality, I'm an introvert, you're an extrovert. How then do I go about it?
All right. So when it comes to matters with personality, let me just name the most common ones, but there are a lot of them. Yeah, the introversion and extroversion. So basically, we know very well for introverts, they tend to recharge by taking some time alone.
Okay.
For extroverts, when they're with people. So the moment you leave them alone, it's like now you're killing them literally. Yeah. So when it comes to connection, it's because with introverts, they prefer connecting with people who have either same ideologies, they have the same wavelength, very factual. Yeah. So if that is you, continue, embrace that fully. Because sometimes people question themselves, why can't I just talk to any stranger? There are these questions that come in, but just embracing you're an introvert, that's okay. And connect with the people you can. For extroverts, it's the other way around. Any stranger, anyone you meet along, please, it's okay.
Yes.
That's who you are. Yeah. Talk to them. Because again, there's usually a lot of debates around personality. Like, well, why is this person talking too much?
Too much.
Or this person is so
silent.
You know? Yeah. If that's your personality, embrace it fully. Yeah. And just ensure, most importantly, just connecting with people who really uplift you. Yeah.
Okay. And it's the holiday season, so at this point we have to uplift each other. And so we are up for our second commercial break. Do not go too far. We'll be back with so much more on how you can maintain soul and mind health during this festive season. right, welcome back. This is Body Garage with I, Sheila Chelangat. Thank you for staying with us on this episode that we are focusing on the soul and mind health during this festive time. And before the break, we've talked about self-awareness and all. And there's this group that is very self-aware, the Gen Z.
Right.
How do we then meet the expectations? How would you advise them on, you know, the expectations, especially during the festive season? How can they manage the expectations as they're heading into the new year?
Right. And when it comes to Gen Zs, oh my God, the self-awareness,
Top notch.
top notch. Yeah, but I guess still comes back to being realistic. Yeah. Because I know we have, and there's the aspect of, even it has been, I don't know if studies has it, but even the IQ is very high. And I think that is what is aiding now to the self-awareness. But even if their ambitions or their goals that I've set, they have to be realistic. And this now comes with the aspect of time bound. If you're looking into something, if you have a goal, what's the duration? Because you cannot talk about either building something. I just want to be very outrageous. A mansion in 2 weeks, please.
It cannot happen.
It cannot happen. So there's a time bound, and then there's also the aspect of, I know there's a self-awareness, yes, but please, sometimes also just get information.
And you know, we're saying that Gen Zs are self-aware, and there's someone who doesn't fall in that category. So first, how do I get to be self-aware? How do I be the best self of myself as I head into this new year?
Right. So there's the aspect of self-reflection, just reflecting who you are. And there's the SWOT analysis. So this involves your strength. What are your strengths as an individual? W stands for the weakness, then there's opportunities and threats. Yeah. And then there's also setting clear goals. Yeah, of what do I intend to do. But again, there are those who literally, by the time they get to self-awareness, they need a professional. Yes, because most of the things are there on their unconscious mind. Maybe they've gone through trauma, so their mind is really clogged with a lot of things. Yeah, so that is now where you debunk, you talk about it to a point now, they come to realization like, so I've been good at this. So you really have to be very cautious around that. That those clearly you can build up from the self-reflection, having clear goals. But I know someone might try doing that and they're like, oh my God, I can't reflect anything. It's okay. Sometimes you might not be aware, but that is now also where the professional comes in, where there's a technique known as psychoanalysis. We take you back to your childhood. Back. Yes.
My goodness gracious.
Yeah, to a point where you're seated, and you talk about it and you're like, ooh, that explains why maybe I love drinking water or something like that. You know, making sense of, you know, why you're acting in such a way.
And so now during this festive season, there's some who have been caught up in the extreme ends, where either the holiday has been stressful for them, or there's someone who now the holiday has been extraordinarily good. So what are the solutions for someone who has been caught up in these extremes?
All right. Yeah, so the first one is being able to know what are some of the things that were stressing you. Because you know, you have to start from a foundation. After you've picked what is stressing you, so that is where, if it involves relationship, yeah, or your social life, taking some time out will be very necessary, yeah, for you. And then there's also the problem-solving techniques. If you're not able to do it by yourself, you can onboard someone else to help, and that is the essence of understanding what is stressing you. Because if I come to you and I even don't know what's going on, I'm like, you know what, please don't ask me, I don't know. You know, reaching to a solution can be a bit difficult.
Can be difficult, yes.
And again, remember when you're stressed out, it comes with so much anxiety, so much worry. I know it sounds like, how will my future look like? So that is where now relaxation techniques comes in. And being mindful, just being in the present. How am I feeling today? How can I make it better? Yeah, and there's also the breathing exercises that revolves it.
Okay.
And there's also one known as PMR. I won't touch on it today, but it's a good one. Paired muscle relaxation. It's a reverse psychology kind of technique that really helps you to relax. So you tense your muscles, then you release it very slowly. So your mind reads that, this person is relaxed. And then there's also one last part of the thought process. By the way, do you know when it comes to the mental health being, or even the soul and mind, it's the thoughts. Today, even what you're thinking is what will determine how you'd feel and eventually how you'll behave. Literally. Yeah, so we really have to be cautious around our thought process. Sometimes it might be easy for someone who is self-aware, but if you find yourself you're very pessimistic around a lot of things, it's high time you seek a professional as well to help you, because that's also an area we deal with, the restructuring the thoughts. It's known as CBT. Yeah.
Okay, you're speaking to many of us. And now you've spoken about we're heading into the future.
Right.
And for some people, the future now comes with having these vision boards, having these goals.
Right.
So how first would you advise for me to set those goals?
First of all, it's reflecting what has worked before. Because sometimes we have vision boards every single year.
Yes.
You input something, not working, you don't revise it, you don't evaluate. So first of all, look at, and that now takes us still back to the SWOT analysis. Because you have to know your strengths, honestly. Because those strengths is what will shape even what will be realistic in terms of your goals.
How do you, advise me to evaluate them during the year?
Right.
So that I ensure that, maintain good health and then ensure that I also ultimately ensure that the goals are reached.
Right, so that is where the accountability partner comes in.
Okay.
And that is where we talked about the relationship aspect. Because if you don't have a friend, you don't have a family, you don't have anyone who can hold you accountable, because others will be like, you'll share with them and they're like, hey, please,
No.
you said after 2 months. What's
It's
going
not working.
on? Yeah, it's not working. What's happening? So having an accountability partner is very important. And also, point to note, just it revolves around where are the goals aligning to. It can be career goals, it can be friendship goals, it can cut across, even spiritual goals, right? But accountability partner will always assist. And the other thing is also having timings where you're evaluating. If it's after 3 months, after 4 months, or you're just checking, not a point where it's 31st December is when you want to reevaluate everything, please. Yeah, also having that time bound of reevaluating is very important as well. Yeah.
But should I really even have goals in the first place?
Yeah.
Someone is wondering, is it really necessary for me to have goals? I can just walk into this year and get out of it next year.
Right. And it's because, again, comes with personality. We usually have the DISC personality, the D for dominance, I for influential, there's a steady and compliant. So there are those personalities without a goal.
Yes.
It feels like life is over. And then we have the personality like influential personalities. They're most relaxed. They're like, "Aye, vision board, what do you mean? You're so serious with life."
Yes.
Yeah. So those are very open, they're so open-minded. They're like,
whatever comes.
Yeah. But still, as much as it's not so structured, but just have a goal because it directs you.
Okay.
And it also adds on to the meaning in life. That's why when someone gets to, let's say, July next year, for example, God willing, we pray, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and they look back and they're like, what am I doing with my life? As much as there's that relaxation, our personality, but please, just having goals helps to shape you, helps to direct you as a person. Yeah.
So for the actionables, you've said if I have an accountability partner.
Yes.
What if I do not have that? Is it possible for me to meet these goals without having the accountability partner?
Yes, you can. Yeah, and that is where the reevaluating after maybe let's say after every 3 months comes in. Yeah, so to say. But that now you really have to hold yourself accountable and be consistent in what you're doing. There's some people who are very gifted. When they set a goal, they don't need an accountability partner.
They'll just get it.
They'll get it. They'll follow. They look at the past 2 months. They're like, have I made this? What is not going well? Can I work on this? They do so. But it's just, it's very curated towards the individual. Because there are those who struggle. There's some disorders like, for instance, ADHD, which now comes with procrastination, forgetfulness. I can forget. Yeah, so the moment you understand yourself, you're able to know what do I need to help me. Because bottom line is, I want to grow. I want to meet my goals. So it's more of what works for you as an individual. Yeah.
Okay. And getting into the new year, many people actually set the goal of wanting to be spiritually in tune with themselves. And you had spoken about this aspect of spirituality. So what is it? Does it mean religion? And then how can I, foster it to be helpful for myself at the end of the day? And
when it comes to spirituality, it's one of the most major protective factors. when it comes to mental health. And as I'd mentioned before, it's not about a structured religion, not at all. It's your personal journey with your higher power, or if you have a personal philosophy that directs your actions. Yeah, so when it comes to now the spiritual aspect of higher power, that now comes in with the prayers. Having the verses, you know, there's some verses that are very curated around, don't stress about this, tomorrow, you know, the Lord will be with you. I don't know the verses exactly, but it aligns with that. That really helps on the same. So the verses, the prayers, and for those of more on the personal philosophies, there's the meditation, there's the yoga, you know, the Buddhas. Yeah, they tend to interact more with yoga, meditation. So you see at that point, that is where they get the self-reflection. And even when it comes to spirituality, in terms of the uniqueness that we are as humans, that also boosts our self-esteem. Yeah, so that is also another angle of spirituality that really helps. Even the aspect of forgiveness, for example.
Yes, which is very important.
Exactly. And I mean, if you have a grudge with someone, please, you can practice. It will really be helpful so that you can go to the new year with a clean heart. Very light. You don't have to carry a lot of things.
Yes.
Back on this other side, right? Yeah, so there is that aspect of spirituality. And even when you talk about, let's say even some people even, they journal. Yeah, back on the personal philosophy.
Yes.
Yeah, they journal, and that is why now they have this spiritual awakening. They're able to understand themselves better, and even in terms of emotions, they're able now to be in a stable place. Yes.
And now we're heading into this new year. What are some of the pro tips you probably would give my viewer on, you know, ensuring that they're in tune with themselves and that their soul and mind are connected in a way that they can now progress?
Right. Yeah, so basically one thing that is very key is your peace of mind. And the moment you find, either be it in a relationship, be it in an environment, be it with colleagues, anyone, yeah, if it's affecting your peace of mind, please, you have to really rethink around it. And even when it comes to aspects to do with mental health, let's normalize it. You don't have to have stigma. It's still there, but we can do this. We can do this, yeah? And even during this festive season, please, don't forget to love yourself. You're very important. You're very unique as you are. And also having that sense of belonging, also very key. So if you have people around you who bring you that joy, please, you can just go to them, have some time, have fun with them. Yeah, so that's all I can say to our viewers today. But don't forget one thing. Yeah, I can see Sheila looking at me. Yeah, filling your cup. Filling your cup. Yes, fill your own cup. Because that is the only way we can be able to contribute to the community. Yeah.
And there's also activities you mentioned, journaling and all that. Can you just give us, you know, in point form, these things that we can do to improve ourselves?
In terms of the journaling?
Yes, journaling.
Right, so when it comes to journaling, it's usually more, first of all, it helps you to be present, being in the here and now. Because the moment you journal, let's say like a day, any day, you just write something. What happened, what transpired, what emotions were you feeling? I mean, if someone, you know, affected you in a way or made you agitated, just write it down. It helps you to be in sync with what was happening, and it forms an outlet.
Okay.
There's a question Sheila had asked around, okay, if I don't have someone, maybe then what do I do? Journaling really helps.
All right.
Yeah, and it also brings about a lot of self-awareness on the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure learning about the soul and mind from you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, and I hope that you have learnt as much as I have, especially on the part of filling your own cup, even if we can do it with people, but ensure that you are self-aware to ensure that your cup is doing well. Till next time, it is goodbye. I have been Sheila Chelangat. Have yourselves a lovely evening.